In the previous episode, we explored the age of the pyramids. Monuments mainstream Egyptology believes were built around 2500 BC during Egypt's Fourth Dynasty by the kings Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure. But Robert Bauval challenged that timeline entirely, pushing the origins of the Giza complex back to a forgotten age, around 10,500 BC, long before the rise of dynastic Egypt. But if the pyramids truly belong to a far older civilization, then perhaps their silent guardian can reveal the truth. The Great Sphinx, a colossal statue with the body of a lion and the head of a human king, is one of the largest monolithic statues on Earth, measuring 73 meters in length and 20 meters in height. The Sphinx was carved directly from the limestone bedrock of the plateau by removing enormous blocks of stone, leaving behind a massive trench surrounding the monument. Those limestone blocks were later used to construct the nearby Sphinx Temple, located directly beside the statue, as well as the Valley Temple, traditionally attributed to King Khafre. That attribution grew stronger after the French archaeologist Auguste Mariette discovered a diorite statue of Khafre inside the Valley Temple in 1860. The temple itself lies near the causeway leading up to the Pyramid of Khafre. Yet despite decades of excavations and research, the Great Sphinx remains shrouded in mystery. No explicit inscription clearly reveals when it was built, who carved it, or why. Mainstream Egyptology attributes the Great Sphinx to King Khafre, builder of the second pyramid of Giza. Archaeologists point to the location of the Sphinx, directly beside Khafre's Valley Temple, and its alignment with the King's Causeway, pyramid, and funerary complex. Egyptologists have also argued that the face of the Sphinx resembles statues of Khafre, particularly in the cheeks and facial structure. But not everyone agrees. American writer and researcher John Anthony West questioned the alleged resemblance between the Sphinx and Khafre. To investigate the claim, he turned to forensic artist Frank Domingo, a facial reconstruction specialist who had worked with the New York Police Department. Domingo traveled to Egypt to study both the face of the Sphinx and the famous diorite statue of Khafre, displayed in the Egyptian Museum. According to his analysis, the two faces did not belong to the same individual. Domingo noted differences in the proportions of the eyes, the width of the mouth, and the angle of the jawline. From the side profile, he argued that the Sphinx possessed a more projecting jaw and significantly different facial geometry. For West, this raised a provocative question. If the ancient Egyptian sculptors were capable of producing highly realistic and symmetrical royal statues, as seen in the statues of Akhenaten, Ramses II, Khafre, and the funerary mask of Tutankhamun, then why would the Sphinx look so different from Khafre? While studying the book Sacred Science, written by French mathematician and symbolist R.A. Schwaller de Lubitsch, John Anthony West became fascinated by one controversial idea. Schwaller believed that the erosion patterns on the body of the Sphinx were caused by water, not wind and sand, as traditionally argued by Egyptologists. To investigate the claim, West contacted geologist Dr. Robert Schoch, a specialist in rock weathering and erosion. After examining the Sphinx and the walls surrounding its enclosure, Schoch concluded that many of the erosion patterns appeared consistent with prolonged water exposure. He pointed to deep vertical fissures, rounded undulating surfaces, and curved erosion channels, features commonly associated with heavy rainfall and water runoff. According to Schoch, erosion caused primarily by wind and sand typically produces sharper edges and more horizontal abrasion marks. He also argued that the weathering was visible not only on the body of the Sphinx, but throughout the walls of the surrounding enclosure. If wind alone caused the erosion, he asked, why do similar patterns appear high along the enclosure walls? Schoch proposed that at least part of the erosion may have resulted from intense rainfall over a very long period of time. Today, the Giza Plateau lies within an arid desert, but geologists know that North Africa once experienced a much wetter climate during what is now called the African humid period. Schoch further noted that nearby Fourth Dynasty tombs, traditionally dated to the age of Khafre, do not display the same severe rounded weathering patterns. To him, this raised the possibility that the Sphinx could be significantly older than the reign of Khafre. But the theory remains highly controversial. Many geologists and Egyptologists argue that the limestone layers at Giza vary greatly in hardness, causing weaker layers to erode into rounded shapes naturally. Critics also point out that the Sphinx has undergone extensive restoration work over thousands of years, including repairs during the late period, the Roman era, and major modern restorations in the 19th and 20th centuries. For mainstream Egyptology, the evidence still supports a Fourth Dynasty origin. But for others, the erosion of the Sphinx may preserve the memory of a world far older than recorded history. Another piece of evidence, often cited by supporters of an older Sphinx theory, is the so-called inventory stele. The stone inscription, discovered near the Great Pyramid of Khufu, is believed to date to Egypt's 26th dynasty, more than 2,000 years after Khufu himself. According to the text, Khufu carried out restoration work on structures surrounding the Sphinx, implying that some monuments at Giza may have already existed before his reign. If true, this would place the Sphinx before both Khufu and Khafre. But most Egyptologists reject the stele as reliable historical evidence, arguing that it was written many centuries after the events it describes, and likely served a religious and political purpose. Yet another mystery emerges from the famous dream stele located between the paws of the Sphinx. The inscription tells the story of Prince Thutmose, later Pharaoh Thutmose IV, who fell asleep beside the Sphinx and dreamed that the monument promised him kingship if he cleared away the sand surrounding it. The text suggests that the Sphinx was already partially buried in desert. The stele also depicts two sphinxes facing one another symmetrically. To some researchers, this raised a provocative possibility. Could there once have been a second sphinx? Many sphinx statues in ancient Egypt were built in pairs. The most famous example is the Avenue of Sphinxes, connecting Karnak and Luxor temples with parallel rows of guardian sphinxes. Symmetrical sphinx statues also stood before Luxor Temple and even near Pompey's Pillar in Alexandria. Throughout Egyptian civilization, Paired sphinxes symbolized protection, balance, and royal power. So if the Great Sphinx once had a counterpart, where is it now? British archaeologist Flinders Petrie reportedly searched for evidence of a second sphinx following the same axis shown in the dream stele. But despite his efforts, no second monument was ever found. The mystery would later attract Robert Bauval. In the previous episode, Bauval proposed that the Giza pyramids mirrored the stars of Orion's belt, reflecting the ancient Hermetic principle, as above, so below. By tracing the ancient sky back to around 10,500 BC, Bauval noticed something extraordinary. At that same moment in time, the constellation Leo appeared on the eastern horizon, directly facing the rising sun, just as the Sphinx does today. To Bauval, this could not be coincidence. He argued that the pyramids and the Sphinx were designed together as part of a single symbolic master plan created by one civilization in a far more ancient age. The ancient name of the Sphinx, Hor-em-Akhet, means Horus of the horizon. For the ancient Egyptians, the horizon symbolized rebirth, transition, and the meeting point between two worlds. And according to Bauval's theory, the Sphinx is not merely gazing toward the rising sun, but toward its celestial counterpart in the stars of Leo. If you want to wear the mystery, explore the official ANKH collection in the description below. For more than 2 centuries, Egyptology has told us that the pyramids and the Sphinx were built around 2500 BC by the pharaohs of Egypt's Fourth Dynasty, a timeline supported by archaeology, royal inscriptions, workers' villages, and the evolution of pyramid construction itself. But throughout this series, we explored another possibility, a possibility built upon anomalies, unanswered questions, astronomical alignments, erosion patterns, missing evidence, and mysteries that continue to divide researchers to this day. Were the pyramids truly built by the ancient Egyptians alone, or did they inherit something from a civilization far older than recorded history? Were the Sphinx and the pyramids designed together as part of a forgotten master plan, dating back to 10,500 BC? Or are we simply seeing patterns where none were ever intended? Perhaps the greatest mystery of Egypt is not hidden beneath the sand, but hidden between these two possibilities. And maybe the truth lies somewhere in between.